Okay, we're going to do just a little brief tour of Ryan's Custom Baits and kind of show you how we do everything, the layout of the shop, things of that nature. It gets pretty crazy around here, a lot of a lot of moving parts, and so we'll just kind of go through the shop and kind of show you how everything works. So over here we got our Presto pots. This is where we make our large runs of baits. We can make about 12 to 14 cups worth of plastic in one of these Presto pots. So if I'm going to shoot a whole bunch of one color, that's what I'm going to use. So this is also where we make our remelts, so from our leftover plastic, leftover pucks, from our recycle bin down here, from two color sprues and things like that. We'll remelt those in a Presto pot. We'll put those in our clearance section of our website so that people can enjoy those baits. There's nothing wrong with junkyard baits or remelt baits. They're just plastic that was losing their coloring, or maybe a color didn't work out the way that I had hoped, and so we'll just kind of throw them in those Presto pots, recolor them for a brown, a black, a red, a blue, something of that nature, and sell them at an extreme discount. These bins here, these are where we keep our pre-made tails. So we'll pre-make craw limbs and things like that. Cinco tails, trick worm tails, speed worm tails, you name it. We'll have those tails pre-made, ready to go. So all we gotta do is just kind of throw them in the mold, shoot the original color of the bait, and they're ready to rock and roll. So just kind of a little setup on how the tail baits are worked. They are poured separately, and so all our different tails for like stingers and flipping bugs and 10-inch worms and all those goodies. Those are all pre-made and ready to go. Here's our core shot rods from when we're making core shot baits, core shot Cincos, phantom grubs, things like that. Up here we got all our different Pyrex cups. I got a bunch of different Pyrex cups. I'm shooting a whole bunch of different colors at one time, so I like to have a bunch of different Pyrex cups to use. Keeps from having to clean them out as often. 2 cup is the preferred size. Some people use 4, some people use 1s. Personally, I like the 2s. They're just the perfect size. For cutting up your pucks, you definitely want a good pair of scissors, good sharp pair of scissors. These are Westcotts. Very good pair of scissors, because that plastic, let me tell you, it's harder to cut than what you might think. Various different clamps and things like that. I recommend using the screw down clamps. These get a good tight grip on your molds. Keep your molds from blowing out, because I've got some pretty good injectors that put out quite a bit of pressure, and so you don't want your molds blowing out. So over here is where we kind of lay our baits out. I've got different size cookie sheets and things. We lay our baits out on cookie sheets to dry, right after they come out of the mold, so they stay nice and straight. These are some drop shop baits that I poured for a customer of mine. They're going to kind of lay out here and dry overnight and kind of cure. I like to let my baits cure overnight. Personally, it just kind of ensures that the bait will keep its shape. We don't package the baits right away, so when you order baits off my website, I'm going to let those baits cure for 24 hours before I put them in a package, just to make sure they keep their shape. So up here we got 2 900-watt microwaves. 900 watt is my preferred size of microwave. I've had an 1100 before. I think it kind of overcooks the plastic just a little bit, so 900 seems to be the sweet spot. And so run 2 900-watt microwaves. You can get these microwaves at Walmart, nothing special, 69, 79 bucks, give or take. And takes about 7 minutes in these microwaves to get it to where it needs to be. So down here we've got some silicone mats. So what these silicone mats are for, so when I take a bait out, I come up here and I've done shot a mold, and I take the baits out of the mold. It gives me a nice soft place to lay my molds. My molds don't get skin up, they don't get beat up. And so, just my personal opinion, I really like using the silicone mats. Lay your molds out on, gives you a nice, smooth, soft surface to work with your molds. I also use 3 table vices. If you'll notice, I took the nut zerts out of all my molds. You know, I am primarily an Angling AI shop. Almost all of my molds are Angling AI. I've got a few do-it molds, but all your tail molds and things like that, some open pore silicone stuff, some Angling AI, open pore molds, but the majority of my molds are all Angling AI for the most part. I really like their molds. They make a really good mold. And the guys at Angling AI, they're just awesome. If you ever have a problem, they'll take care of you, no problem. So I use two 1x2 pieces of slick tile, and the reason why I do that is because when you're pulling these Pyrex cups out of the microwave, you know they're coming out of there at 300, 340 degrees, you know, give or take. And you don't want to put those on a plastic or a wood table because it will damage the table over time just due to the heat. So you want a nice, good, heat-resistant surface to put your Pyrex cups on when you're taking them out of the microwave. So that's why I use you can get these little pieces of tile at you know, Home Depot or whatever. Pretty simple little deal. So always get you a good set of mechanics gloves or heat-resistant gloves of some sort. Yeah, these have got a lot of miles on them. As you can tell, they've got liquid plastic on them and things, you know, from overspills and injector pressure overruns and things like that. And trust me, that would have been on my hand had I not had them gloves on. And you do not want to get this liquid plastic on your hands. You will be taking a trip to the emergency room in a lot of pain. So I personally have never done it myself, but I got a friend of mine that pours as well, and he has a few times. I figured he would have learned his lesson, but he has not. So ventilation is another thing. You know, this is a window here. I'm on a second story up here in my shop. Ventilation is key, guys. You have got to ventilate these fumes out of the room, out of your Pyrex cup when they come out of the microwave here. Okay, when they come out of the microwave, they're going to be steaming hot. I take it over here. I put it right in front of the exhaust fan right here behind me. I've got another fan that's blowing the fumes towards the exhaust fan to help ventilate this stuff out. Obviously, the most common thing to do would be wear a respirator. You know, my respirator is right there. I definitely wear that when I paint my crankbaits for sure. But I assure you guys, if you can smell the plastic, it is in the room, so you're not ventilating good. So you definitely want to get that stuff ventilated out of the room the best you can. That's why I run a suck fan and a push fan, you know, no pun intended. Up here we got all our different molds that we use. We've got all different types of molds from speed worms, flipping bugs, 4-inch trick worms, Senkos, brush hogs, trick worms, 6-inch, 10-inch worms, ecto craws, baby craws, phantom grubs, flukes, grubs, lizards, minnows, the eye craw, slick shiners, rippers, all my different tail molds. Up here we got some of our open pore stuff, some tube dipping rods. All our different injectors. So we've got our dual injector here. This is how we shoot our 2-color baits. Big Mondo injector. It's a 13-ounce injector. That's for, you know, shooting bigger runs and things like that. This is my most common injector and my favorite one. Both those injectors come from Bait Plastics. One's a 9-ounce, one's a 12 or 13-ounce. I don't remember. That's what we use for when we're doing our hand pouring. Okay, these are beakers. With a beaker handle. These come from Fusion X molds, same place the silicone molds come from. Be a good hand pour injector, you know, Fusion X got you covered. These things are awesome. I lubricate my molds with a 3-in-1 multi-lubricant. Okay, you got to keep your O-rings injected for your molds, or I mean your injectors, I'm sorry, so that they're nice and smooth. You can use worm oil, you can use any kind of lubricant that you want. I just prefer this stuff. It's relatively inexpensive. It works really well, and it lasts a long time. These are our what we call a blending block. Okay, this is where our two color injector goes in, and you got your laminate coming out. Okay, down here we got some of our recycled plastic. Nothing wrong with this plastic. It's just plastic that we have used and are either running out of, or the color didn't turn out the way we wanted, or you know, maybe the plastic's starting to turn color, or leftover 2-color sprues. We can't use those, so we use regular old butter knives. Just stir the plastic up, you know, nothing crazy. You don't need anything wild for anything like that. Over here, this is where we do all our paintings. So this is where I paint all my crankbaits. So I run 2 Iwata Eclipse airbrushes, very nice airbrushes. I definitely recommend these if you're going to be doing a lot of airbrushing. Okay, got some blanks over here ready to be painted. There's the compressor, things like that. Here's some baits I'm painting right now. So these have been painted in the Fire Tiger color. Got the eyes painted on. I do hand paint my eyes. I don't use stickers or anything like that. These still need to get bills and line ties, and obviously clear coat. This bait has not been clear coated yet. Got some various stencils and things I use for craw patterns and shad patterns and things of that nature. So different wrappings and stuff like that. This is all my airbrush color, as you can tell. Got lots and lots and lots of airbrush colorant. So about any color crankbait you can think of. If you ever need any custom work done, just holler at me. I can probably make it happen. There's not a whole lot of colors I don't have. Most of this airbrush paint comes from golly, where's that place at? Golly, I can't even think where the airbrush paint comes from, but it's all pretty much all Createx paint for the most part. And Spray Gunner, Spray Gunner is where I get most of my paints. Really good folks, good prices on their paint, and they'll treat you right. So over here is all our plastic colorant. This is where we color all our plastic. You know, we got our 5-gallon buckets of plastic, different varieties and things down there. Definitely use a drill and a paint stirrer. Stir your plastic up. You know, this, I use Bait Plastics plastic for my plastic. Just my personal preference. You know, they got the best prices on plastic personally, as far as my opinion. I'm not saying it's the best plastic in the world, but it is really good plastic. I use a medium blend for the majority of everything, and you know, they ship it for free. You know, you need to mix it up with a paint mixer, you know, every few days, you know, just to make sure it doesn't pack at the bottom. But their stuff is crystal clear right out of the bucket. You know, nothing crazy. It doesn't have a lot of bubbles. It does not need to be degassed. All your different colorants, you know, if you can think it up, we can probably make it. So lots of different liquid colorants, lots of different powder pigments, from pearls to chartreuses to color shifting powders. I mean, you name it, we have probably got it. All the different flake combinations, you know, there's just tons and tons of different flakes and sizes and colors and things we can do with flake. If you need anything custom made that you can't find anywhere, you know, don't hesitate to holler. We can probably make it happen for you. How we mix up our plastic. When it comes to the powders, I prefer a silicone whisk personally. Okay, until you get into your fluorescent powders like these over here, these tend to want to clump up on you just a little bit. So I use an electric whisk. Okay, nice little electric whisk. You can get these at Walmart for, you know, 20-25 bucks or so. Does a really good job for mixing those fluorescent powders up, so that you know, naturally they're kind of chunky a little bit. So when you put them in your plastic, you know, it tends to want to chunk up just a hair. So that little electric whisk right there does a fantastic job for blending that powder into your plastic, and you don't see any specks or anything like that. So that's really nice. You know, my liquid colorants, you just use a butter knife. Nothing, you don't need to go anything crazy with your liquid colorants. Just write down your recipes. You know, we write down our recipes so that we can make the colorant the same every single time. So I've got a recipe book right over there. Got all my recipes in it for how I make a specific color, and I assure you it will be the same every time. You got lots of different additives that you can put in your baits. Obviously, salt is a key additive for a lot of baits. You know, salt's what makes your your baits sink. Your liquid plastic, you know, your standard plastic baits, they tend to want to float without you doing anything to them. So, you know, if you want the bait to sink a little bit, or you want to sink more, you just add more salt to it. The more salt you add to it, the more the bait's going to sink. So, got our different scents and heat stabilizers and things like that for baits that get sent. And the heat stabilizer just kind of helps the plastic keep from changing colors on you. You know, the more heat stabilizer you put in it, the better it's going to keep its color. So over here we got we got some various different bins and things. You know, these bins, they've got flukes in them. These are leftover extra baits, you know, that I'll fill packs with. You know, if they don't make a full pack, you know, I'll fill the baits, put the baits in here. These are just extras. You know, got a bunch of flipping bugs, and I mean, you name it, it's in here. So this is what we fill most of our packs with. Over here we got various different you know, different speed worms and swimming minnows. I mean, you name it, they're in here. You know, little swim baits, 3.5 inch, different Senkos. You know, this whole bin here is nothing but Senkos. So, you know, you got your different grubs, brush hogs, trick worms. I mean, you name it. This is kind of where we keep most of our baits, you know, before they get packaged. Shipping over here is where we print all of our labels. We don't do handwritten labels. We do printed labels. Nothing too cheesy. This is where we kind of weigh everything. We weigh out all the packages, make sure we give everybody the best price. We're shipping their products to them. On my website, shipping is free over $35. So anything you order over $35, I'm going to ship it to you for nothing, you know, within the United States, obviously. Over here, this is kind of where some of the crankbait magic happens. So down in the garage, I cut my blanks out of a raw piece of balsa. It's about a 4-foot piece, you know, that I start out. Each balsa plank will make about 70 of these rough cutouts. Obviously, that's kind of a gnarly looking bait right now, but it kind of turns into magic over time. So I'll take that bait, I'll put it on my little table router here. Okay, it'll kind of bevel the edges for me just a little bit. Hopefully you can focus in on that. And I use this little tool to stab my bait with because I enjoy my fingers too much, and that's a little bitty piece of wood that close to a router bit. So I use this to kind of hold my bait in place and router around it. So, and then once that part's done, I'll fill those holes with wood sealer over here. And then everything will be hand sanded and hand carved. Okay, so all my baits are hand done. You know, there is a little bit of machine work to them, but not a whole lot. Most of it is all done by hand. At least the hard part is anyway. And so over here is where we kind of put our hooks on our baits, hooks on our crankbaits. And obviously we got big bags of hooks and various different sizes. We wrap all our baits with a natural rubber band. You know, we've got different belly weights, swivels, line ties. I mean, you name it, it's here. So this is kind of where we put all the crankbaits together. This is what the crankbaits are drilled out with as far as the line ties are concerned. The belly weights are all done over here. This is the bandsaw. We drill out the belly weight. We drill out the rattle chamber. We are one of the only balsa manufacturers, balsa bait makers that actually put rattles in our crankbaits. So most of your crankbaits out there that are made out of balsa, they do not have rattles in them. I've got a custom rattle system that I build and put in my crankbaits, okay, that kind of makes them unique. I don't know if you can hear that or not, but they got their own little rattle system I built in them. These baits here, these are pretty well fresh off the drying rack. Okay, so some of these baits, they just came off the rotisserie over here. So I put my baits after I clear coat them. I put them on the rotisserie, let them dry for 24 hours. And then we let them set over here. I'll drill the line ties out, get them all set, and then we'll put the hooks and split rings and things like that. And then we'll we'll package them and put them up here where they belong. So as you can tell, my crankbait wall is a little bit dry right now. So a lot of people buy crankbaits here recently, and they have pretty well cleaned me out. So got a few more going up there on the rack. It takes about 4 days to make these crankbaits. So just kind of bear with me if you order a color I just happen to be out of. Just know it takes me about 3 or 4 days to actually do the crankbaits. So just kind of bear with me on that that aspect. So we got several baits over here that we kind of keep just in stock. These are just really good selling baits. You know, you got your slick shiners up here up top. That's just a paddle tail minnow with a slick side on it. Really good trailer, really good on a jig head. You got your sweet drops over here, good drop shot bait, things like that. Swimming minnows, again, good on a jig head, good as a spinnerbait trailer, jig trailers, stuff like that. We got our little crappie baits. These are your little 1.5 inch, well, actually, I think, yeah, they're 1.5. Little baby flukes. These things are crappie killers, guys. So right here is where we'll let the crankbaits dry. So when I put my sanding sealer on, then I put my base coat on, then I put my clear coat on, things like that. I'm going to hang these baits right here on this little rack and let them drip, as you can tell by the mess that's made over the years, to get a lot of that excess stuff off there before I put it on the rotisserie. So the rotisserie just kind of rotates your baits really nice and slow, so you get a nice, clear, even clear coat on your baits. So they stay on the rotisserie for 24 hours, at least on the clear coat side of it. So that's why it takes so long. It's not that it really takes me that long to build the crankbaits, but you know, drying time of clear coat, you know, I use KBS coatings on my baits, and let me tell you, that is, in my opinion, you know, I may get some hate for this, but in my opinion, that KBS clear coat, it's called Diamond Clear, and let me tell you, it is the best stuff in my opinion. A lot of people don't like it because it's a little difficult to deal with, and it will dry out on you in the can if you don't take care of it. So and it's expensive, guys. It's $68 a quart. So by my opinion, it's the best clear coat on the market, hands down. You know, I've got one crankbait of mine down in my boat that this color here exactly. It's called the Okie Shad, one of my favorites. I've caught more than 50 or 60 bass on that one crankbait alone, and I'm telling you, it does not have a teeth mark on it, nor does it have a lick of hook rash. So that just tells you how good the clear coat is that KBS has. So, you know, up here we've got some various baits again. You know, we've got our swim baits that we sell a ton of. You know, these are the 3.5 inch rippers. They come in packs of 8, clamshell packed. You know, keeps your tails and stuff and everything straight. So really good bait there. We got some other baits that we just sell a lot of. I try to keep some extras just on hand, that way I can just, you know, snag them off the wall and ship them out to my customers. So, well, this is a general tour of Ryan's Custom Baits. I hope you guys enjoy. If you guys need anything, have any questions, give me a holler. Check us out on our website, etsy.com/Ryan's Custom Baits. If you need anything specific, anything custom made, don't hesitate to holler. Thanks again, and peace out.